Good day, it's June 17, 2023. Former President Donald Trump, on Thursday last week, became the first former president to be charged with federal crimes. He is also known in the history as the president to have been impeached twice. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban. In a 49-page indictment, former President Donald Trump is charged with 37 alleged crimes, which include 31 counts of violating the Espionage Act and 6 counts of obstruction of justice. This indictment was a result of a lengthy investigation by a team of prosecutors led by Special Counsel Jack Smith. The indictment, which was released to the public by the Department of Justice Friday last week, details the accusation that Trump stored boxes containing classified documents in various locations at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, including a ballroom, a bathroom and shower, his office, his bedroom, and a storage room.
According to the same indictment, among the top secret and other classified found at the estate were details on foreign nations' nuclear capabilities, as well as defense weapons capabilities of both U.S. and foreign countries, U.S. nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the U.S. and our allies to military attacks, and plans for retaliation in response to an attack. Included in the indictment were photos of the boxes of documents in different locations, including the ballrooms that continued to be used for events. On the photos showed a stack of boxes that had fallen over at the storage room. Visible in the photos are markings that the information can only be released to the closest allies of the United States: Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom.
The charges were filed at the U.S. District Court in Florida, where the crime of holding top-secret documents actually occurred, which many legal analysts may actually be a good and calculated decision by Special Counsel Jack Smith and his team, rather than filing the case in Washington, D.C., where the National Archives is located. Trump is charged with willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding a document or record, corruptly concealing a document in an investigation, scheming to conceal, and false statements and misrepresentations. In a brief televised appearance, Special Counsel Jack Smith urged the public to read the indictment in order to understand the gravity of the crimes charged. The men and women of the United States intelligence community and its armed forces dedicate their lives to protecting our nation and its people. Our laws to protect the national security information are critical to the safety of the United States, and they must be enforced, said Smith. We have one set of laws in this country, and it applies to all, he added. What I'm telling you today in this indictment is just a brief summary. We will continue to bring you analysis and development of the case as things develop. We may actually hold a weekly segment concerning these federal charges against Donald Trump in the next several weeks. So follow us at The Pulse on this.
In the meantime, a report in Newsweek magazine confirms that Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, has sent a busload of undocumented immigrants to Los Angeles. Governor Abbott defended his move by telling several media outlets in a press release, arguing that his home state of Texas is overwhelmed by migrants. That the first busload of these migrants arrived in Los Angeles Union Station on Wednesday this week. Abbott has been previously criticized for sending busloads of migrants to the other large cities that are run by Democrats, like Washington, D.C., Chicago, and New York. It has previously been reported in the mainstream media that Abbott conspired with Governor DeSantis of Florida for misleading migrants and fly them to Martha's Vineyard in a political stunt. This act of dangerously playing with the lives of migrants for political stunt was the subject of an investigation by a Democratic sheriff in Texas who recommended criminal prosecution for Governor DeSantis, although no case had been filed yet by any prosecutor. We are going to take a break. Please stick around.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. One important newsmaker we could not cover in last week's broadcast for lack of time was the news on the passing away of America's wealthiest evangelist, Pat Robertson. Pat Robertson, who for decades was host of the show The 700 Club and founded the network CBN, which is Christian Broadcasting Network. It has been reported that at the time of his death on June 8th, that the televangelist and 700 Club host had a net worth of more than $1 billion when he died at the age of 93. According to a report by Reuters, Pat Robertson founded the CBN network in 1960 and hosted the flagship show The 700 Club for decades, offering prayers and political commentaries. In 1980, the show helped galvanize the support among Christian conservatives for Republican Ronald Reagan's presidential campaign against President Jimmy Carter, who was running for re-election. Robertson himself ran for the Republican presidential nomination in 1988, but finished only second in the Iowa caucus, appealing largely to the Christian evangelical population, which has become a standard practice for those who are running for president of the United States among Republicans. The White House bid for Robertson was unsuccessful, and the Republicans chose George H.W. Bush, who will become president after Ronald Reagan. Bush was Reagan's vice president. Many believes that he worked with Ronald Reagan's administration of funneling arms to Iran and the brutal counterinsurgency in Guatemala and Nicaragua in what has been investigated by the U.S. Senate called the Iran-Contra affairs. Pat Robertson, in Central America's presence, was suspicious to lawmakers and the mainstream media. But for the mainstream media and non-evangelical Christian voters, and in the secular world of voters, especially the Democrats, who are Catholic and Christians, Pat Robertson was unpopular. His political commentaries on the 700 Club and other public speaking were very controversial. His condemnation about homosexuality, abortion, and black people were unhinged and considered alien to the gospel of love that Jesus Christ preached during his ministry. Pat Robertson had shaped what the Republican Party had now become, mixing religion and politics, mixing religion with government policies, as we now see in many Republican-controlled legislatures on the attack on women and the LGBTQ. Laws were enacted against women and against LGBTQ. Blacks were also disenfranchised when it comes to voting rights by racial gerrymandering, reducing the powers of Black Americans. Some analysts and commentators compares the goal for America of Pat Robertson as no different to Iran and Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia's Sharia laws. That Pat Robertson wanted to create a Christian theocracy and adopt the white evangelical version of Christianity for all Americans. And that is why the cultic nature of the white evangelical movement, believing that Donald Trump is chosen by God to run and rule this country, is simply anti-democratic. I would say that they are trying to do so to preempt God's theocracy during His second coming. If you believe in that, what the Bible says, but it is not for anyone to shove into the throat of all Americans what you believe in your religion. Otherwise, that will be the end of this country as a democracy. The end of our Constitution, that hundreds of thousands of people died defending our constitutional democracy. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stay with us.
About 3 weeks ago, we ran a segment on the civil war in Sudan and how it affected close to 1,000 of Philippine nationals caught in the middle of the Sudan war. These Filipinos are mostly OFWs and employees of NGOs helping Sudan. Those Filipinos were successfully evacuated with the help of the Philippine Embassy in Egypt and other government agencies that are functioning for the Philippine OFWs. Our host, Mr. Sam Buban, took the opportunity to ask Consul General Edgar Badajos in a forum with the Las Vegas Filipino-American community this week. Here's a video of that interaction recording our OFWs worldwide.
Before I ask the question, I just want to premise this, that I was so impressed of the Philippine government's response to the crisis in Sudan, where the Filipinos, OFWs, and Philippine citizens there were repatriated rapidly. So my first question is, will this be a standard response by the Philippine government through our diplomatic missions if there's like an outbreak of war, whether in South America or like a small country in North Africa?
It has been always our response. Even before Sudan, we've already been sending rapid reaction team from the DFA. We have that program under the Office of Migrant Workers Affairs Office. We have funds really to provide assistance to Filipinos who find themselves in those situations. So our reaction, the way we help our fellow Filipinos in Sudan, we evacuated them to the nearest country, after which we repatriated them to the Philippines. That's already an existing standard operating procedure of the DFA. Ginagawa po namin yan. So, if there's any outbreak of war in any part of the world, or outbreak of, or if there's an epidemic and there's a need to repatriate many of our kababayans from where they are back to the Philippines or to a country nearby, we have that capacity and we've been doing that already. When I was in Jeddah, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, I actually chartered 7 flights of the Philippine Airlines to repatriate fellow Filipinos of ours, fully paid for by the government. 7 flights. Lahat ng gustong umuwi na kababayan natin sumama sa aeroplano na yun. So if there's an outbreak of war anywhere in Latin America or in any part of the world, and they come to us seeking assistance from the Philippine government so that they can be repatriated anytime, we will do it. It's already our standard operating procedure.
One last quick question. Thank you, Consul General. One last quick question. Is the Philippines' diplomatic presence worldwide expanding or shrinking?
We are actually expanding. We are now present in more than 90 countries in the world. That's talking of 90 plus Philippine embassies and consulates all over the world. We're opening new consulates in Africa. Because currently we only have embassies in Libya, in South Africa, and in Nigeria and Kenya. But we're opening more. We're sending more. Because we are seeing more and more of our fellow Filipinos going out of the country to find employment opportunities overseas. Which brings me to another issue that we are facing, which is the issue of brain drain.
That's right.
So many companies are coming to the Philippine Consulate requesting the Philippine Consulate's assistance so that they can bring in more Filipino professionals into this or that other country to work for their companies. My response to them is if there's a shortage of this kind of workers in your country, your own government should do something to address that shortage. It should not be my primary responsibility to help you address that shortage of yours in your country. If I have excess workers in the Philippines, it'll be up to the worker himself or herself to decide whether or not to work home or overseas. But for you to tell me to continue sending out people from my own country, I think there may come a time when I myself will run short of nurses in my hospitals, will run short of engineers in my companies, will run short of aircraft mechanics who will repair aircraft with Philippine Airlines if they break down. We don't want that to happen. In fact, there are already hospitals in some parts of the Philippines where you will find wards, emergency sections, in other areas of the hospitals with no nurses because all of them are overseas. Many of them are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Some are in Europe, in Australia, in Japan, in Germany. The Philippines is becoming the human resource center of the world. We're getting our workers. Why? Because we're just so good in what we do.
Also this week, the Fil-Am community got together for the book signing event of Washington, D.C. powerhouse Loida Lewis. The turnout was impressive, someone said, better than Ron DeSantis' book signing event in New York. Loida Lewis, who became chairman of the board of TLC Beatrice, a multi-billion-dollar company after the death of her husband, the legendary Reginald Lewis, the first African-American to become a conglomerate owner. Reginald Lewis, a lawyer like his wife Loida, was a Harvard Law graduate and became a very successful entrepreneur, ending up in Forbes magazine. Here's Sam Buban's interview of Miss Loida Lewis.
Madam Chairman, thank you for agreeing to talk to me with FilAmTV, The Pulse today. I'm with Loida Lewis, a legendary powerhouse in Washington, D.C. I've read part of your book, like in page 133. In retrospect, the legendary Reginald Lewis was in a hospital, and he was saying about, I could have taken the political route, and you said, well, you were successful in the financial world, and you've done it. So I also learned that you and your family are very big, like a powerhouse in Washington, D.C., and in the Democratic Party. Okay, my question is, what would it take for the Democratic Party to retake the U.S. House of Representatives?
Wow, Sam, that's a million-dollar question. First, I want to thank you, and it's an honor that Carl Magno has invited me to grace his television station.
Thank you.
I congratulate Sam and you for having a mouthpiece for the Filipino-American community.
It's an honor.
So your question is, what will it take for us, because I'm also a Democrat, to take majority again of the House of Congress,
House
the
of
House of
Representatives,
Representatives? Well, I think those who are leading the Democratic Party should concentrate on the young, because with all of that's happening, the young, more or less, I think, have a better idea of what is right and what is wrong, what is good for the people and what is not. Of course, there's still a divide there, but if there is an active solicitation and information giving, I think the young will determine the success of having another majority of the Democratic Party.
I think there's a validity to it because in 2022 election, there was a significant increase in the voter turnout among young people, and so just a hunch. What are the chances that the Democrats, the Democratic Party, will retake the majority in the House of Representatives?
Well, for one thing, in New York, I'm sure the Santos liar is going to be replaced. Hopefully, the Democratic Party in that county, in that congressional district, should have been working very hard, because he's not only a liar. He has, and his defense is, "I am not George Santos."
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So that's one. But we need to retake at least 4, if not 5.
Yes, because this is the slimmest majority the Republican Party had, and others believe we have the weakest. Political pundits describe this as we have the weakest Speaker of the House in history. Last question. Do you have any reaction to the Donald Trump federal criminal indictment?
Oh, no. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that finally in Florida, the federal government sued him for this confidential files, more than 100.
Documents.
And so I will rephrase what he had said in the 2026, lock him up, lock him up, lock him up.
And you're referring to like when he's chanting with his audience like lock her up, but this time it's like lock him up.
Because what Hillary Clinton did at that time was having 2 servers, and he was saying 2 servers, one could have revealed confidential information, but so many others, including his own daughter, have 2 servers. But that's not really the case. The case is that I wish people will see how much Donald Trump have really put his nose up on disobeying the rule of law. Not only in New York, and thank God, District Attorney of Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, sued him first in spite of the threat of a demonstration of the Trumpers. But now Florida did it, and next is Georgia.
Yes.
For having called the Secretary of State. Can you show me 15,000 votes so that I'll win in Georgia? And so many others. The January 6th rebellion in Congress is also another one that he
It's still coming
incited. It's still coming up. So he locked him up.
Yes.
That's all I can say. Lock him up.
Well, political and legal analyst says that there's no comparison what Trump is saying about, I wasn't the only one who have done it. There's Hillary, there's Joe Biden, there's Vice President Mike Pence, but really everyone is in unison in saying that there is no comparison with the willful retention of top secret documents, which is part of our national security. So, Mrs. Lewis, Loida, thank you so much for talking to us here at the Polls. Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Thank you. But
You're
I just want to
welcome.
tell the listeners I am
Okay.
here courtesy of Gloria Kawili and so many others in this because I am launching my memoir, Why Should Guys Have All the Fun? An Asian American
Yes, I like it.
story of love, marriage, motherhood, and running a billion-dollar empire.
Yes.
So I thank you, Sam.
And my favorite page was on page 133, that intimate conversation with you and Reginald Lewis about the restaurant. He could have been like a,
Bill Clinton.
a political,
Yes, because at that time, Bill Clinton was being inaugurated, and he had that misty look in his eyes that maybe he could have gone the political route. But I said, no, darling, your path is in finance. And then he nodded his head and said, yes, I have disproved a lie. And he didn't have to continue that. And I know what that he meant, that he disproved a lie, that a person of color, a black man, cannot go to the very top of corporate America, and he did it.
Well said, and we are witness to it in our lifetime.
Thank
you
you.
again, Loida.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
We are out of time here at the Pulse. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and thank you for watching.
And I'm Sam Buban, wishing you a happy Father's Day. Until next time, God bless your week.